In the far snow, where the howling wind never ceases, where footprints vanish with time, the wind sweeps across the land, burying shattered glass beneath layers of ice. A torn duffel bag lies half covered by the snow. A beast's roar shatters the silence, its voice echoing across the frozen wasteland, challenging the howling wind itself. A man stands between the monster and his family, gripping a knife, the only thing keeping the creature at bay. The beast towers over him, its sheer size making him look like nothing more than an ant before a mountain. "Be careful, Dad." A child's voice pierces through the storm, desperate and fearful. Her mother holds her close, shielding her from the cold and from the horror unfolding before them. The mother knows her husband won't survive this fight. The only thing she can protect now is their daughter's innocence. The beast's glowing eyes lock onto the father, a deep, festering hatred burning within them. A scar runs across its face, a mark of a past battle, a reminder of vengeance yet to be fulfilled. The beast crept ever closer to the family of three, its slow, deliberate crawl filled with malice. Hatred burned in its eyes, a fire that had long waited to be unleashed. Its heavy breaths came in ragged huffs, each one thick with anticipation. The father could hear it, only worsened by the frantic pounding of his own heart. Yet, just as the beast prepared to strike, it hesitated. A presence held it back. A white-haired maiden stood above, her bluish-purple eyes fixed upon the creature from her vantage point. Her gaze alone was enough to disrupt its bloodlust. The beast exhaled sharply, releasing a hazy mist that veiled the snow-covered land. Then, with a low growl, it accepted the unspoken challenge. The girl did not falter. She raised a hand, her expression calm, yet her intent clear. A faint purple glow pulsed around her as the snow beneath her feet swirled, forming orbs of light that hovered in the cold air. The beast struck first. With a guttural snarl, it clenched its massive fist and hurled it toward her, the force of the attack sending a shockwave through the snow. The impact shattered the ground, kicking up a blinding flurry that obscured its vision. But the girl had already moved. With effortless grace, she sidestepped the attack, her eyes glinting with quiet resolve. From the palm of her hand, an eye-like formation appeared, shimmering with eerie light. In the next instant, a razor-sharp shard of ice, no larger than her palm, shot forward. It struck true, piercing the beast's face. A guttural roar echoed through the frozen landscape as the creature recoiled, momentarily disoriented. The white-haired maiden was not satisfied. She conjured another shard, keeping the beast at bay. Then, pressing the sides of her hands together, she formed an even larger spear of ice, nearly the size of her own head, and hurled it toward the creature. It struck the beast's face with brutal force. The family watched in shock. Who was this mysterious woman? The mother clutched her daughter tightly, shielding the child in her arms. The little girl whimpered but kept her eyes locked on her father, who stood in front of them, a lone barrier against the monster. The white-haired maiden had now stepped between them and the beast, her presence an unspoken vow of protection. A guttural growl of pain tore from the beast's throat. Blood gushed from its wound, staining the snow beneath it. But the maiden did not relent. She continued her relentless assault, ice shards piercing through the swirling mist of battle. The beast had enough. With a furious roar, it leaped into the air and came crashing down, slamming its fists into the frozen ground. A thick mist of snow exploded outward, engulfing everything in blinding white. The maiden's sharp eyes darted through the haze, but she could see nothing. Then, pain, clawed hands wrapped around her legs, yanking her downward. As the snow settled, the family could only see her dangling upside down, held helplessly in the beast's crushing grip. But she did not give up. With a swift motion, she thrust her palm forward. Another shard of ice shot directly into the beast's eye. The creature roared, blinded and enraged, its grip tightening as it slammed the maiden into the snowy ground. The impact sent tremors rippling through the frozen earth. Now, with the distraction gone, the beast turned its full attention toward the family. The father, though outmatched, refused to back down. His hands trembled as he raised a small knife against the towering monster, knowing this was the end. The white-haired maiden stirred, her mind sluggish, her body aching from the brutal impact. As her vision cleared, she saw the beast advancing toward the family, its hulking form looming over them, mere steps away. Desperate, she forced herself to move. "No, stop," she cried out, her voice breaking. But the beast neither heard nor cared. It trudged forward, its massive shadow swallowing the trembling figures of the mother and child. The maiden tried to rise, but her legs failed her. The beast's earlier grip had left them numb, weak. Still, she refused to give up. With shaking arms, she crawled forward. "Please, leave them alone," she pleaded, her voice hoarse. Snow clung to her lashes, blinding her, but she kept going, reaching out toward the monster that refused to stop. Then, a sickening sound split the air. The beast's head was severed in an instant, torn away by an unseen force. Its massive body swayed before collapsing, sending a heavy tremor through the snow. A hush fell over the battlefield. What? The white-haired maiden gasped, barely processing what had happened. Then, through the misty haze of snowfall, a figure emerged. He did not walk, he floated just above the ground, as if untouched by the mortal world. A voice, cold and indifferent, cut through the silence. "Weakling." The maiden's breath hitched. That face, she knew it. "Subaru." Amelia stood, her legs still unsteady, relief washing over her now that the monster had been slain. "Thank goodness, they're finally safe." A child's scream pierced through the howling snow. The father clutched his arm, where an open wound from his battle with the beast remained. Small, glistening crystals of ice sprouted from the raw flesh, spreading like frostbite. Fear flickered in his eyes, confusion twisting his features. He didn't understand what was happening, why his wound was freezing over. His mind raced for an explanation, and only one answer made sense. Amelia. She wielded ice magic. It had to be her doing. "What's happening? Dad, no." The child's panicked voice trembled with fear. She couldn't understand. Her father had fought bravely to protect her, so why was he being punished? Amelia's heart clenched at the sight. She stepped forward, desperate to help. "Let me see your wound. I can help," she said urgently, reaching out. But as soon as she got closer, "Stay away." The father jerked back, his grip tightening around the knife. He raised it between them, creating distance, his hands shaking with pain and suspicion. The mother, eyes wide with terror, pulled the child into her arms, shielding her protectively. She held her daughter close, as if clinging to the last thread of safety. She was afraid that Amelia would hurt them, too. Silver hair, long ears, bluish-purple eyes, the father's voice trembled as he spoke, his breath uneven. "She is the child's voice cut through the air, finishing his sentence. "She's a witch. That girl is a witch. She is a witch." The mother gasped, her arms tightening protectively around her daughter. She turned her back to Amelia, shielding the little girl from the terrible sight before them. But the child didn't stop. The words poured from her lips over and over, a fearful mantra drilling into Amelia's heart and mind. She had heard those words before, many times, ever since she could remember. The father's confusion, the fear in his eyes as the ice spread over his wound, it gave his daughter's words weight. Doubt crept in. Perhaps she truly was a witch. "That's enough." Subaru's voice cut through the girl's frantic cries like a blade. The mother flinched, clutching her child tighter. The father, still gripping his knife, hesitated, his fear warring with the uncertainty of Subaru's presence. But Subaru wasn't looking at them. His gaze was locked on Amelia. Her hands trembled, her breath coming in short, uneven gasps. Frost curled around her fingertips, and the snow beneath her feet cracked as ice spread outward. Her eyes, normally so soft, so full of warmth, were wide with shock and fear. "Amelia," Subaru called, floating closer to her. She didn't answer. She was trapped in her own world, whispering the words that had kept her sane for years. "That's not true. That's not true. That's not true." She covered her ears, as if trying to block out the world. "Please stop it," she begged, voice breaking. "Don't say that. Don't say that." She didn't even seem to hear him. "Amelia." Subaru raised his voice, firm but not harsh. Her bluish-purple eyes met his, filled with unshed tears. Her voice was small, fragile. "I didn't mean to, I just..." "It's okay," Subaru interrupted gently. He reached out, not hesitating even as the cold stung his skin. "You're not a witch, Amelia. You're you." Her breath hitched. "You hear what they're saying, right?" He gestured toward the trembling family behind him. "They're scared. Not because you're a witch, but because they don't understand. And do you know what happens when people don't understand something?" Amelia swallowed, shaking her head. Subaru knelt beside her, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "So what do you do? Prove them right, or prove them wrong?" Her hands clenched against her chest, ice still swirling at her feet. "Amelia," he said again, softer this time. "Breathe." She did. A shaky, uneven inhale. A long, trembling exhale. The ice stopped spreading. The air lost its bite. The family, still wary, didn't move, but the immediate danger had passed. Subaru turned back toward them, standing tall. "She saved you," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "She fought the monster for you. If she wanted to hurt you, she wouldn't have gone through all the trouble." The mother hesitated, her grip on her daughter loosening. The father, still clutching his injured arm, looked down at his wound, then at Amelia. Doubt flickered in his gaze. It wasn't much, but it was a start, and Varukal would take it.